Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast today. Super excited to be with you all with a very special guest that is way overdue coming on the show. Because when did we first talk about it, Matt?
Oh, I don't know. It's been a couple hours.
A couple hours, yeah. Last year sometime at least.
Yeah.
And you're a busy dude, and I'm a busy guy. You just had a baby not that long ago, so there's that.
I didn't. I'm showing, but yes.
Anyway, guys, we just give everybody a minute to join in and start viewing the stream. We'll get the official part of the show kicked off momentarily. Hello, Hopper. Thank you for joining. And Bobby, thank you. Hello. It's going to be a really great show today. I'm sure of that because, well, Matt's a seasoned pro at doing stuff like this.
Seasoned.
He's even got that fancy camera with, short depth of field and stuff. And a fancy mic. Hey, Timothy, thanks for joining. Good to have you. So today we're going to be talking about the primary and secondary network that Matt's created. We're going to talk about vetting information and training because we have to, and that's a part of it. And we'll slip in here a sneak peek, if you will, of the new Walther PDP pistols. Yeah, which Matt has there with him. So,
oh yeah,
the timing is good for that. I mean, if the release date had actually been the correct release date, it would have been too early.
Yeah,
to show.
So yeah, it was not planned to. None of the information was planned to be released yesterday, and the powers that be said, "Just do it." And all of a sudden, the entire internet is inundated with Walther PDP information, and it's good information. I really like the pistol, genuinely. But yeah, it was due to be all released on Friday, along with the actual official release of the weapon itself.
Yeah. It was funny because I didn't see anything. I must have been hiding in a rock or something, and then I saw your post on primary and secondary, and I was like, it's like 16th, 19th.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I got the date mixed up. I thought it was supposed to be the 19th. Oh, okay. I guess it's today.
Yeah, and it was what was it? 12 Central. Yesterday was the day they said, okay, go ahead and release all your stuff. And I still have a video or two. I'll see if I'll release it.
Well, we got a few of you joining in and watching, so we'll go ahead and get the official audio, the podcast part of this show done. So let's do it. You ready, Matt?
I guess so.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1. This is the Concealed Carry Podcast, episode number 481. And welcome to the Concealed Carry Podcast, part of the concealedcarry.com network. I am your host, Riley Bowman, and I'm joined today by special guest co-host, Matt Landfair of Primary and Secondary. Hello, sir.
Hiya. How's it going?
Doing great. We've been working on getting this put together for a time.
Yes.
Having you on the podcast. I think we had you even tentatively scheduled. Actually, I think we had
a couple
you
times
for a date. And then
a couple times.
You had work stuff come up. Which
funny how that works.
Sometimes happens when you're in law enforcement.
Yeah.
But here we are. We finally have you, and we're going to have a great show today. Guys, today's honorary show sponsor is Primary and Secondary, of course. So you should all head on over to primaryandsecondary.com and learn more about primary and secondary. If this is your first exposure, well, I hope that it will not be your last and that you'll enjoy much great info and content over at primary and secondary. And also, when's the last time you all have been on the main concealedcarry.com website? All right. We have a ton of information and resources on there. In fact, we just did a big update to our 2A business directory. And so if you don't know, if you go to concealedcarry.com, we have a business directory. I think it's labeled biz directory. And you can search by all kinds of different firearms related businesses. So if you're looking for a range, if you're looking for ammo, firearms, a gunsmith, that kind of stuff, that's where you'll find a very comprehensive directory of businesses. And also, if you're looking for gun-free zones, you want to avoid certain places, whether that's a I don't want to give them money decision, or if it's a personal or legal decision, well, we have an ever-growing repository of gun-free zones listed on the Gun Biz directory part of the website. So I hope you guys will check that out. So again, here we are with Matt Landfair, Mr. Primary and Secondary. Where should we begin? I think we should begin with, tell us about the birth of primary and secondary. Where did this come from? And what is primary and secondary? Because some people probably hear it.
Yeah.
They're like, what?
Okay, so I guess I'll start with how it all started, and it started with a lot of frustration. And it was so much frustration. Forums, the forums that I enjoyed, that I used professionally. So my background, I've been a cop for 20-something years, started in corrections, working in corrections. I met a lot of, see, if I say good people, people are going to be offended by that, but there are a lot of people there that just made mistakes. And that really paved my way in law enforcement to figure out not everyone I'm going to be dealing with is a horrible criminal person. A lot of people make mistakes, and that's basically been my perspective in law enforcement. So I've been doing the cop thing, been doing patrol since, I don't know how long it's been, 2003. So been doing the cop thing for a long time. Been a firearms instructor in law enforcement since I think 2004, and so I'm constantly seeking better information, constantly seeking better ways of doing things. And where I am, I'm in northern Utah. Unfortunately, a lot of the information, a lot of the agencies, a lot of the training out here is kind of kept in a bubble. And it's pretty much in-house, and not very many people seek to leave this bubble. Now, if you know anything about Utah, and I love living in Utah, I've been out here since '97. I poke at people that are residents of Utah because Utah is a bubble, and it's its own little thing, and not very many people leave this bubble. Same for law enforcement training, unfortunately. So I'm a fairly new officer looking to get some great information out to teach officers. And the resources that are provided to me are kind of outdated based on when I'm comparing notes with other officers outside of our bubble. So I'm constantly looking for good information. And one of my favorite forums, lightfighter.net, wonderful source of information. I met a lot of my mentors, Pat Rogers being one of them. Pat Rogers, wonderful guy. Pat Rogers was a big inspiration for the way I run primary and secondary. I've hosted him. I've traded with him. He passed several years back, but his memory and his spirit lives on in kind of my mindset with how I run primary and secondary. So Pat Rogers was a big influence, and I would attend his classes, and I'd come back and I'd share some of this great information that I learned, share it with officers. And for the most part, it was like, oh yeah, that's great. Okay, whatever. A couple guys absolutely embraced it and said, yeah, this is great stuff. This changes the way we can do things. This improves, this raises our bar. And so, yeah, Light Fighter was a wonderful resource to get these connections. So I'm constantly seeking betterment, constantly seeking ways to do things better, more efficiently, upgrade our training. Light Fighter starts to die down. A lot of my friends, a lot of the people I looked up to they kind of went elsewhere. A lot of people went to Facebook, but there was no organization on Facebook. I joined several Facebook gun groups, which were very scattered in their purpose, in their goals, in the direction they were going. So we could join some random gun group, and we'll talk about everything from hunting lions in Africa to purse carry of a Derringer at Walmart. It's difficult to navigate. It's difficult to determine where the good information is. So I'm in all these gun groups, and I'm just kind of tired of reading information that there are no standards, and there's no one making sure that there are standards. So I said, you know what? I'm going to make my own thing. I already had a good network of professional instructors, gun industry, law enforcement, military types, competition shooters, and very serious gun carriers who were not military law enforcement. So I said, hey, let's all gather together and start this thing. And I was trying to think of a cool name for it, and I couldn't think of anything. And then I realized, well, how about just primary and secondary? Primary being our rifle, secondary being our handgun. And it's kind of, you can't really tell what it is on the surface. It's kind of unless you look at our banner, and then clearly there are guns involved.
Right.
But the name itself is just kind of generic. As a matter of fact, if you look it up, there's primary and secondary colors, primary and secondary schools. So yeah, we get some interesting questions on some of our Facebook stuff and websites when people clearly don't know, they haven't noticed the banners or the content being shared. So a bunch of us started getting together on my Facebook group, and we were sharing information. We were sharing our lessons learned, the things that we found to be best, and we established some standards. Okay, you know what? If you're gonna reply, explain your post, explain your position, because this is an opportunity for everyone to learn something. I can go on Google and find out the answer. I can find out what on Google, but I'd rather know why. So if you just post, yes, Walther's the best pistol ever. Okay, great. Why is it best? Because your input, no matter your skill level, you don't need to be some commando, Delta, whatever SEAL to give good information. You can be a brand new user and provide some wonderful, you can provide the secrets of the universe for some people, as long as you're providing why. Also, doing this provides an opportunity for us to have a real discussion. We can find out what your actual insights are. And this is also kind of a litmus, because those of us who have been around this for a little while, when people provide their explanations, we can quickly determine this guy's full of it, or this guy's right on. I've experienced this, and let me help you, because the whole goal of this is we want to help everyone. I want to be able to be a conduit to help everyone be better in their training or their mindset or you name it. So if we're comparing notes, if we're being honest, and it comes right down to it, being honest with yourself and honest with others you interact with, this is a wonderful opportunity for all of us to grow. If we get into a debate, if we disagree, that doesn't mean I hate you. That doesn't mean you hate me. That means this is an opportunity for both of us to consider each other's perspectives and potentially learn from them. If I put away my ego and listen to someone that I disagree with, and all of a sudden realize I'm wrong, guess what? I just improved. So it's a wonderful opportunity to get like-minded people together who are going to be honest. They don't need to make things up. They don't need to exaggerate their experience. Just be honest, and then we can all grow together. And it's what's the term with the rising tide raises all ships, or something along that.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Something like that. The rising tide raises all ships. That sounds right. Yeah, close enough.
We'll find out when this goes offline. People will comment. So if all of us are getting better, what an awesome opportunity. And then we can bring in friends, we can bring in relatives, and this is a place it can be for those that don't understand our, and I'm going to call it culture, the culture of explaining yourself and just being honest. People may find this to be a little abrasive, and I can see that. But what an awesome opportunity to bring people in and go, hey, this guy was actually involved in what you're looking at. This guy was in X amount of shootings. We had Jared Reston. Jared Reston was a wonderful example of someone he's been shot up and was able to finish the fight and win the fight. We have all these types of people: Bill Blowers, Scott Jedlinski, Chuck Pressburg, Reston, and Riley is part of our I'm going to call them staff.
Oh, well, thank you. I've been promoted.
Yeah. I think. Well, the best part is, though, if you've been around us for any period of time, you will quickly see we're all friends.
Yeah.
And we all appreciate each other's input. We don't always agree. We disagree, but the best part about those disagreements is it's okay, because it is possible for both of us to see something from different perspectives, and we're both right.
Yep.
It's just based on our application, our experience, and all that other good stuff. So basically, it started as a Facebook group, primary and secondary did. And then I determined, you know what, we need something offline, off Facebook. And so in 2015, I started a website and a forum. I was kind of worried I didn't want to have all these wonderful networking opportunities on Facebook, because Facebook is not under my control, and that can be pulled right. Hey, what do you know? That's what we're experiencing right now. It can be pulled right from under us in a heartbeat, and we're playing by their rules. So I thought, you know what? We need to have some kind of a backup. We'll have a forum where we can meet. We can have long-term discussions. The thing that I've learned about forums versus Facebook or social media in general, on social media, when people post or people reply, it's just kind of, it's vomited out. Whereas an old school forum, it's the posts and replies are more crafted. People think about them more, and they seem to think, or they seem to put a little bit more emphasis and more effort into them. So yeah, being able to provide all these resources have been awesome. And then from there, so we had the website. In 2016, we started a podcast. We have our regular panelists are guests on other podcasts. Riley is on fairly frequently, especially recently.
Yep.
We have all these guests, and we all get along wonderfully. And the atmosphere it's just so much fun. And if you listen to our super old ones, we had no purpose. Or no, I won't say purpose. We had a purpose. We didn't have a direction. And there were long pauses. The audio was horrible. But if you listen to them and if you're patient, there are nuggets of awesome information in there. But truly what it is it's friends getting together, comparing notes, sharing stories. And then a couple years ago, we changed up the format where now we're more focused. We talk about we have at least a general topic. Stories still occur. We still go on tangents, but the whole experience has just been, it has been so much fun, because training, mindset, firearms, all this kind of stuff, these are my passions. Being able to provide good information to people that want it, that is a passion of mine. And if no one's maintaining any standards, how do the people that don't know any better navigate and figure out which direction to go?
Yeah. I kind of liken it to, what you've created in primary and secondary to kind of like the old Greeks, with the Socratic method, for instance,
Yes.
which was a form of it's kind of like arguing, points and issues, asking questions, right? And this ongoing sort of debate-like atmosphere to all together learn and make each other better in our understanding. It's something that definitely is lacking in today's society, where it's just information overload from all kinds of different places, and especially talking about, I don't know, this industry, this community of firearms and firearms carriers. You don't always know where that information's coming from.
Yeah.
You don't know what those people know or what their experience level is. And, we've seen the rise of influencers that have a great deal of reach and influence. I mean, hence the name influencer, but maybe don't necessarily, they're not always, in fact, quite often, they're not the most experienced people in the room. And it's not that they don't have stuff to offer, but you definitely find a lot of people kind of not staying within their lanes. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Right. And again, like to your point, you can have people that in a community like this that maybe aren't the most experienced, but are thoughtful, ask good questions, and bring a good counterpoint, and something to back up their reasoning. And again, in today's culture, just generally speaking, people are really lazy in their communication, in having discussions with one another. Well, this is my opinion. Well, this is my opinion. Well, I don't like your opinion. And then it becomes
quick to be offended,
an attack on each other, not actually having a discussion or a discourse.
I'm accused of that frequently. And I have some excuses I could give, but I'm not going to bother. In reality, you know what? I'm just going to provide, this is what I found. This is what it is. I'm happy to talk with you about it. But these are the things that I found. These are the issues that I'm finding with the information you're providing. Unfortunately, people are emotionally attached to positions. I personally am. Absolutely, I'm attached to things emotionally. But it seems like that's been a huge drive. One thing that we learned early on is just because you are or were military, just because you are or were law enforcement, doesn't mean you have all the answers. I'm a perfect example of that. Oh no, I don't have all the answers. I'm sure looking for them, and I will be more than and also in a discussion, if someone brings something up that I know for a fact I don't have the answers for, you know what? I'm not even going to bother, because there's no reason for me to keep on talking if I can't help.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, that emotional attachment, the immediate offense if someone brings up something that's contrary. I think if people took a step back and realized what was going on, I think I would hope they would be less easily triggered.
Yeah. Yep. No, I'm with you there. And to your point, like, we all have our own biases. We've got things we're emotionally connected to, but and I think that's acceptable. That's fine. That's normal. We have to recognize that. But we also have to recognize where our bias lies.
Mm-hmm.
And but what helps, I think, break through barriers of bias are when we can actually have productive discourse between people, right? So going back in my history, I was pretty heavy into debate way back in the day, in high school especially. I did a little bit of college, but and so of course the whole point of debate was, here's a topic, here's a point, right? Now argue it. You're on this side, you're on that side, and it forced you to come up with supporting arguments for your position. And it was a great mental exercise to try to think your way through these things and try to see things from all sides. And again, like, so often in online interactions in these days, it's very little thought given to positions. It's just, I know what I know, and by golly, that's my opinion, and you can take it or leave it. So that just doesn't really get us anywhere.
No. And what's especially fun with that is when the person sticks around long enough, they don't leave, block, or whatever. If they stick around for the conversation long enough, and they're holding this position, when we dissect their position and determine, and they're admitting, and we're talking about this freely, openly, and honestly, you know what? This was all just rumor that I've relied on for 20 years. I was taught this back X amount of years ago, and it's since been disproven. And for people to actually admit that is amazing, because it's an opportunity for growth. And it's a win. It's a win for everyone.
Well, and you take guys like you or Chuck or Steve or Bill, you don't get to where you are in your career and with your level of experience and knowledge without having an open mind to things, right? And being able to take information that's presented, find ways of testing or validating it in your own, whether it's in your training or in practice. And then you got to look at that and go, yeah, actually that works, or no, this doesn't work, or maybe this piece works, but this other piece doesn't, and it's all about this process of taking stuff in, evaluating it, discarding what's not good. Isn't there like a Bruce Lee quote, something like that? Take what's useful and discard what's not, or something that reminds me of an old Bruce Lee quote. It's been a while since I heard that one, but anyway, the point is again, you don't get to that place of understanding and experience if you haven't been open to discovery along the way. Because if you stay really locked into the status quo, well, that's just going to be the status quo, and you're never going to grow. You're never going to learn. You're never going to discover new things.
If all you ever have had in your entire life is vanilla ice cream, and you claim that is the best ever.
Yep.
How can that be an accurate statement if you haven't tried other things?
No. Yeah. Funny story, little sidebar here. One of my daughters, when she was a few years younger, she it was like the day before Thanksgiving one year. This is a couple years ago. And I don't even remember what we did that day, but the festivities of just getting ready for Thanksgiving and everything. Kids are out of school. We were playing games or whatever. And all of a sudden she, out of nowhere, proclaims, "This is the best day ever." Well, the next day was Thanksgiving. And so it's like, so what does that make tomorrow? She's like, the day after. And, she's just young. I think she was probably 4 or 5 years old at the time. And I think back to that. Like, that's kind of how life is sometimes. Like, you think nothing, nothing can get better than this is right now. Whether that's talking about equipment.
This is it. Yeah.
Training, what I currently know and understand, my current level of skill and performance, like, it just can't get better than this. That's a loser's attitude, frankly.
That's stagnation.
Yep.
And I think that might be the secret of our success, and including those that actively participate in our primary and secondary. We are perpetual students. We do not stop seeking what's best. We do not stop seeking betterment, training, better ways of doing things. I've been through Darcy X amount of times at counterterrorism school. I've been through with Pat Rogers X amount of times. But you know what? These are awesome classes. I'm not going to stop. Firearms. Hell, I have a large firearm collection because I'm always seeking to learn more. Even some old stuff. I bought an Enfield #1 Mark II or #2 Mark I or one of those. It's a 3820 or 38200 World War II. Really cool revolver. It's kind of like a Webley. Mm-hmm. I got that specifically to learn more about it and to understand it. With my carry stuff, I'm always looking at better ways of doing things, because I'm not going to go, well, this Glock 19 is the best ever and I don't need to get anything beyond this. Personally, for me, not even close. Mm-hmm. Not even close. But it takes some honesty. It takes some self-actualization. You need to be realistic with yourself and recognize, first off, you have to recognize you might not have all the answers, but you need to be constantly seeking betterment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about like what are some examples of the type of people that could be found at primary and secondary? I mean, you touched on a few things and a few examples here and there, but I mean, kind of give us maybe a few examples. You can be as specific or non-specific as you want.
Yep. Without naming names, retired Delta people. We have fairly new concealed carry people. Mm-hmm. We have veteran law enforcement. We have firefighters. No one likes firefighters. We have the entire scale. We have everything.
Competitive shooters.
What was that?
Competitive shooters.
Absolutely, competitive shooters. You name it, we have the demographic. And what ties us all together is the fact that we're all seeking not necessarily a holy grail, because the holy grail means that's it and we stop. But we're constantly seeking, again, betterment. One thing that was really interesting to learn early on, when we got all of these different types of people together and large quantities of them together, when we all come together from different backgrounds, different experience, different areas in the country or even of the world, when we compare notes, a lot of these notes are very similar. They're not necessarily always going to be the same, but there are some huge similarities. And when we compare these similarities, well, to me, that's what we in law enforcement call a clue. So if you have heavy duty military dude and fairly new concealed carry guy, and they compare notes and go, yeah, I found this too. You know what? This is a point that we need to pay attention to. And there are more commonalities with what works than not.
Yeah.
So I think it's to our benefit that we have every single area, every demographic possible, every level of experience, every possible profession that participates.
Yeah.
Because this primary and secondary is not about high speed law enforcement, whatever. I'm not a SWAT guy. Never have been a SWAT guy. I was a school resource officer. I'm currently I oversee a patrol division at my agency as a sergeant. But every single one of these, even we have a plumber who is an awesome shot, an awesome instructor. It takes all types to do this right. And it takes all types for us to compare notes and for all of us to improve.
Yeah.
The plumber being Mark Smith.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark's great. And you're right. He is a phenomenal shooter and an instructor.
Yeah.
Great instructor. Speaking of instructors and getting training and so forth, last year you held your first ever primary and secondary training summit.
Yes.
And you have another one coming up this year.
Yes.
So,
September, I want to say it's 4th, 5th, and 6th. Of course, as we discuss this, I'm pulling it up as fast as I can. Unfortunately, I'm not in Dallas or Texas where I actually do have internet. 4th, 5th, and 6th of September. Basically, we have an all-star cast of instructors, including Riley.
thank you.
It's Chad Albrecht, Bill Blowers, Durabulke, Varg Freeborn, Chuck Haggard, Scott Jedlinski, Matt Little, hopefully Mike Mihalski again from Sons of Liberty, Chuck Pressburg, Jared Reston, Mark Smith, again Riley, and a couple others that are going to be added. I think we might even have some Walther Defense Division representatives there. We already have two there, but
yeah,
I have some additional involvement with Walther now, and I'm really impressed with their defense division because they just have some awesome instructors. So essentially it is a buffet of training. You sign up for individual classes, and all these classes are in 4-hour blocks over 3 days. And you have an opportunity to get a couple really good tidbits, because typically if you go to a 2-day course, you get some really, really good, for many people, it's drinking from a fire hose. And it's difficult to remember all these great tidbits. Well, breaking them up into 4-hour blocks, I'm hoping people get a couple tidbits that they can remember, they can apply, they can use. They can also take back any of this information that they learned, introduce it to whoever they want to. This also gives them an opportunity to get a taste for the instructor's style and their material to see if they want to host them or go back to their class at a later time. So it's a great time, great people. And this is going to be in Logan, Utah.
Which is a great location.
It is. But the people involved are wonderful.
The weather's nice, right?
It is.
And it's a great range that you've got set up for this. And I enjoyed my time there the first time this last year. It's fantastic. Like you said, a buffet of training. It
is. And everyone involved, they're all just wonderful people, genuinely. Mm-hmm. And these are all people that I want to not participate. I want to associate with. These are people I want to hang out with. And you may find in between classes, some of the instructors might jump into one of the other blocks and act as a student. A lot of hanging out, a lot of everyone really, it's like a family reunion. And that's kind of what the core of primary and secondary is. When we all get together, it's kind of like a family reunion, because these are just such wonderful people. And they're all of these people have the same purpose, and they want to pass on the best possible information. And they're also perpetual students trying to seek the best possible information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Again, September 4th, 5th, and 6th, 2021. Folks can sign up and find information on primaryandsecondary.com.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a link on there for the training summit. Again, I enjoyed my time very much last year. Looking forward to being a part of it again this year. September is going to be a busy, busy month for me. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think just about every weekend I have some kind of training event somewhere.
Cool.
that I'm going to be. But we'll be kicking it off the month of September at the primary and secondary one. So Labor Day weekend, in case people didn't put 2 and 2 together.
So save your ammo now.
Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Yeah.
Exactly. Save your ammo. Budget, set things aside. I just found some at the range here. I didn't buy any, although I thought about it, but found some here locally just today. 1,000 rounds of 223, just your standard 193 55 grain, $1,000 for 1,000 rounds.
Wow.
It's like, well, if I get desperate.
Yeah. Well, you know, and it's kind of sad that we're in that position. And this is a topic that we on primary and secondary have discussed in the past. Number one, stuff like this is going to happen. We already know it. We've seen this already happen. So have your, and this is going to be preaching to the choir to some, and this is going to be, well, duh, to others. Already have your stockpile. Don't have your one box of ammo and think there's always going to be ammo available. Also have potential B plans. So I have a lot of 5.45 by 3.9 and 7.62 by 3.9 and several AKs that can be rotated in as necessary. So I'm not using my primary because I'm a big AR-15 guy. Yep. But I don't want to be using my 5.56 stash. And it is cases of ammo, but still, I don't know when we're going to have this lit up and we can have ammo freely flow from the faucets again. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, if I take any carbine courses this year, I'm planning on it, it will be with an AK. And I'm typically an AR guy again, but having these alternative opportunities, alternative ammo opportunities to, well, number one, to learn a weapon system a little better, but also to make sure you still get these trigger presses. Yep. It's beneficial.
It's true. It's true. I say it probably more often than I should. Probably is a little bit overused, but shooting is shooting. So yeah, you know, if you're an AR guy and that's primarily what you use or focus on, but things are getting a little tight on that side of the equation, pick up the AK. You're gonna get some good reps on a different weapon, you know, system, platform, whatever, and still all the same fundamentals of shooting apply, right?
Yeah.
Put gun on target, hold sights there, press trigger without moving stuff, and get better at it.
That's the secret.
Right. So awesome, man. So speaking of, you know, kind of training and instructors and being a good student and all that, but how can one, so let's say somebody's watching this or listening to this podcast here today, and they're looking at their ammo situation going, I don't have a lot right now. I don't have a lot that I can budget this year, but it is, I mean, it goes without saying that training is important. Like we should make it a priority because these are perishable skills that we deal with.
Yeah.
How does one, do you think, maximize that training, maximize their resources, choose the best courses, the best instructors, the best training for them, right? And also at the same time is able, you know, like what are maybe some things you've discovered in your own experience as far as sort of vetting instructors and courses?
Yeah. Wonderful question. So going back 20 years ago, I would have bought a case of ammo and it would have been completely happy with dumping it all into the side of a mountain. And hey, yeah, practice. There was no purpose to us.
Yep.
Step number one with anything that you're doing, have a purpose. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your resources, especially when ammunition is so scarce. Don't be wasting those resources. Dry fire is a thing. Dry fire is immensely helpful and beneficial. If you happen to be a red dot person, dry fire is going to be even better. And I'm sure you talk about dry fire and red dots all the time. Again, yeah, people from different backgrounds coming to similar conclusions. What are the odds? So dry fire, there are a couple tools that are helpful. There's some that are a little bit more gimmicky. Personally, with my carry pistol, dry fire is all I need. I don't need ammunition. I don't even need to have a trigger reset every time I press the trigger. Purely drawing and doing my presentation, that is good practice. Presenting being on target and pressing the trigger and doing the entire follow through, that is good practice. And it doesn't cost any money. It doesn't cost any ammo. And there are a lot of really good resources online that can walk you through how to do dry fire more effectively. If you happen to be a Glock person, and I have no Glocks in front of me, I have a double single and a couple strikers. But if you're one of those people that you want to keep on getting these trigger presses, if you take a little tiny piece of cardboard or paper and fold it a couple times and put it here, I'm gonna use a Walther for this demonstration. We are unloaded too. Someone always on the internet is upset when you do this. Okay, so BBQ. Take that little piece of cardboard and put it, wrong way, put it right about there, close up the trigger or close up the slide, and then you can continue to actuate the trigger with a Glock. It's a quick little easy solution. And the reason I'm specifically saying Glock is it's one of the widest used guns. So if you're using a double single, man, talk about an awesome opportunity. So here's a CZ SP01 tack, empty. And every time I press the trigger, well, we're going to decock it. Every time I press the trigger, I have actuation of the trigger, and it's great practice. And it makes your fingers so strong. So dry fire practice is wonderful. And dry fire doesn't necessarily mean you're always pressing the trigger. It also means that it just means you're not using ammunition. And it can mean that you're just drawing from your holster, whether you're drawing from appendix or a duty rig or whatever. It's all very beneficial. When you're going to the range, let's not even get to classes yet. When you're going to the range, have a purpose. Figure out what drills you want to do. Are you going to do a fast drill? Are you going to do a 10-10-10 drill? What are you going to do? Don't just go to the range, have a couple boxes, throw up a target, and just shoot all over. Have a purpose. Know what you're going to do ahead of time. The worst thing you possibly can do, well, it's not the worst. There are worse things. One of the worst things you can do is just go to the range and just shoot for the hell of it. And sure, yes, it is fun, but is it going to be beneficial to you? And again, with this ammo shortage, is that in your best interest? So what I've done now, we're going on to finding a class. 2006, 2007-ish, going back to Light Fighter. I was aware Light Fighter had a lot of professionals. I was aware Light Fighter maintained some very good standards for information. So I was comfortable that I could go there and read people's input, and I knew if someone said anything out of line, it would be called out immediately. We do that at primary and secondary. So I read all these after action reports, AARs, basically with training. Sometimes the instructor, sometimes a student will write up basically a course overview of this is what occurred, this was the weather, this is what we did, this was the outcome. After action reports are wonderful when it comes to determining whether you want to go to a class or not. So I read all these after action reports, and I kept on going back to Darcy, Direct Action Resource Center, after action reports, and even more so, Pat Rogers, EAG Tactical. And it got to the point where I was starting to learn from these after action reports. And these after action reports were providing so much good information that I was actually learning from something. So that to me said, hey, I got to go take a class from this person. This is too good. So I hosted Pat. I hosted him several years in a row and learned so much. And I quickly determined this is wonderful, but I can't completely just invest in one instructor. I need to spread this out and learn from other instructors and see different ways of doing things. And I continued reading after action reports and determined, yeah, Pat Mack, I've read good after action reports. I like his presentation. I like what he has to say. I'm going to go to that class. Great class. Darcy. Okay. Finally had an opportunity to go to Darcy. Went to it. Amazing class. I got to the point where I was active enough in the training scene that I got some good networking. I also got in good with the instructors themselves where I can kind of ping them and ask their opinions of things. And then I had this network that I could use at the time was Light Fighter to say, hey, what do you guys think of this? Hey, what's your input on this instructor? What's your input on this course? Does this course even apply to me? Do I need to have underwater hostage rescue? No? Okay, I'm not going to take that class. Sure, it sounds fun, yeah. But there was a gradual progression. So it started with reading all these after action reports and then taking a class and then networking with the students and networking with the instructors and then using that network to further my development and further my direction. And that greatly widened my my network. And that's kind of also how primary and secondary started, because I already had this super wide network. Well, let's throw us all together so we can help others make these same decisions even easier. One of the big benefits also with primary and secondary is a lot of us have been there and done that. We can help you save money by not wasting your money on dumb things or dumb training. And yes, it is possible to have dumb training. And there are instructors out there that probably shouldn't be teaching.
Yep.
That's where this whole network comes in. And so that's essentially, and a long way around it is, the whole network ends up being the means of finding good instructors. Primary and secondary is how I found Mark Smith. It's how I found Matt Little. And it's cool because some of these guys, when they post, you listen to it with an open mind. You watch their videos, you listen to what they say, you read their posts, and you go, I like what this guy says. This is similar to my findings. His spin on this, I like even better. I want to try this for myself. I try it. This works. This is great. I want to learn more from this guy. John Dufresne, wonderful instructor. He's another guy that I learned about through primary and secondary. And I found out that he was being hosted nearby a couple years ago. Attended the class and was absolutely fantastic. And I already knew John. I just never went to his class. There are so many awesome instructors out there. We have so many awesome opportunities to train with wonderful people who are very well versed in their skills and their tasks and their craft. It's an awesome time to be alive. Yeah. Unfortunately, we just don't have ammo.
That is true for sure. This is probably the most remarkable time that's existed in this nation, in this world, even as far as like the collection of experienced men and women that have really done stuff, have proven themselves, like, on the military side, on the law enforcement side, competition side, or just general shooting. Like, there's such a huge just conglomeration of amazing information that unfortunately gets lost sometimes in all the noise of everything else.
Yeah.
But what an amazing time to be alive, because we're even at that place where we see, we were just having this conversation the other day within, primary and secondary, some of the folks talking about, the old guard, right?
Yes.
And like there are these giants, if you will, on whose shoulders we stand, that laid and paid the groundwork for so much of what we know and understand today. Just looking at Tom Givens, for instance, I'll just throw out a name, right? He's been around a long time, teaching a long time. A lot of people have been influenced by him, right? Yeah. He's probably on his way out, right? Ken Hackathorn is kind of already so pretty much retired, right? You got names like I'm drawing blanks all of a sudden. I had this all figured out in my head, but
I know how that is.
But you kind of see all this. Oh, that's right. I was thinking of a good friend of mine, Rob Latham, only one of the greatest pistol shooters that's ever lived, and still lives, and still is one of the greatest at 60 years old. What an amazing time we're in to have this wealth of knowledge and experience. And now we see a new crop of guys coming into the fold, doing great stuff. Like you said, Mark Smith, I enjoy listening to Mark because he has a unique, humble, down to earth style that resonates with people, but he doesn't feed you BS. He just he knows his stuff. He knows how to run a gun and run it really well. So, there's a lot of great opportunities out there. Making use of limited resources, ammo, like you touched on a moment ago. Well, if you have one opportunity, you can go to a training event this year. You might consider going to the primary and secondary training summit.
You'd have an opportunity to meet a lot of really great instructors, and hopefully when ammo frees up next year, maybe
Hopefully,
you can go to those guys training the whole 8-day, no, not 8-day, 1, 2-day, 3-day courses, and really have a great time and learn a lot. Drink from a fire hose.
Yeah. And I'm stepping on your toes and putting on a training event of my own. But
No.
hey,
There's
if you guys can't make one, go to the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of my thinking too, is I know there's people last year that wanted to be at the training summit, but couldn't, right? There's always conflicts.
Yep.
And whatnot. So there's some good opportunities out there to be had. Find your ammo, stock up, be wise in your expenditure. I mean, it's more important than ever to, like you said, go to the range and have a plan of why you're there, what you're trying to accomplish. I haven't always been as careful myself as far as like, I'm going to go to the range today and shoot precisely 200 rounds. Like, that's all I'm going to take. Like in the past, when ammo was plentiful, it's like, well, I know I'm going to work on this, and this. And ammo, well, I'll just throw a case in the truck. Away we go, and use whatever I needed to use, however many times I decided to run through different drills and exercises and things. Now it is very much, I'm going to the range with 200 rounds, and I'm doing precisely these following things. So the planning is actually getting better because of the limited resource. So the limited resource is unfortunate, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for us to actually get better.
Absolutely.
More focused.
So I think it was 2 days ago, I went to the range and brought a ton of guns and had a bunch of magazines loaded and a couple spare boxes of ammo. And the whole idea behind this was I was meeting up with a couple buddies, and this was primarily familiarization fire. There were several guns I have not yet fired, and I thought, let's go there, let's try them out and see what they can do. And the buddy was set up at a 50-yard range, and there were clay pigeons that were already broken. And we wound up shooting clay pigeon parts at 50 yards with handguns. And after it was all said and done, I thought, that was just 50 yards. How the hell did that? How did we do that? Why didn't we bring the targets in? But what an awesome opportunity. We figured out, okay, this is 0. You have to hold here for this range. And then shooting all these different pistols and seeing how they all, and comparing them. I did a quick little video with my friend Nate where he shot. Let's see here. It was 357s with a 327 performance center and 627, basically a super lightweight 8-shot revolver, and then the regular 12-pound revolver. And it was just that kind of stuff that we were doing. We were just kind of familiarization, and it was just fun.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of had a purpose, but still, even and the reason I bring this up is even still, I go to the range and I am stupid. We accomplished our task, but we didn't have any specific goals. But this also goes back to, and we get in these debates, and I still can be a little emotionally attached to something. Yep. Or not everyone is perfect. Not everyone is going to have all the answers. And this is something that's really fun to realize is those people that you hold up on a pedestal are just people. That was one of the coolest things for me, seeking out all these instructors and these people that, oh, this guy is amazing. Holy crap. I get to associate with this guy, or I get to go to this guy's class. And now I'm friends with all these people, and they're just genuinely wonderful people, and they're all just people. Mm-hmm. And once I had that realization, my ability to learn increased, because I saw them as people and understood them better and listened better. And it wasn't everything that they say is law. Everything is their perspective. And I appreciated it more.
Yeah. Very good. Let's shift gears a little bit as we kind of get close to the hour mark here and start kind of wrapping things up. Let's talk about 2 new pistols that you have in your hands
I
there.
have right here.
So, we talked a little bit earlier about, actually that might have been before we started the podcast recording, but yesterday, exciting news from
Yep.
Walther, and basically a couple new firearms that was released and announced that
A
you had
family.
something to do with, and some other friends of mine were intimately involved with. By that I mean guys like Scott Jadlinski, Bill Blowers, a few other great guys, great people. You guys had a trip just this last fall.
Yep. After the training summit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all went out to Chicago, sponsored by Walther.
So what do you have there? What is this new pistol from Walther?
Nothing. So there was all this hype, and there was going to be this really big release on the 19th, this Friday. And in 1 hour, I'm doing a podcast with Walther Defense Division and the guys behind my main points of contact at Walther to discuss these brand new pistols, which at the time, that was going to be a closed podcast, and we were going to release it on Friday when everything was released. Some information was leaked out, and the decision makers said, you know what? Why don't we just release all of our media now? So yesterday at noon Central Time, all this information came out about the Walther PDP.
Yeah.
So it's a striker-fired pistol. Ergonomically, the textures of the grip, if you're familiar with the Q4 steel frame, here, let's pull that up. Here's the Q4.
These are polymer frames.
These are polymer frames. So here's a Q4 steel frame. Has a nice texture. Well, here's the new PDP texture. And I don't know if you can tell, if I get it close to my face, the textures are very similar. I don't know if you can tell.
Yep.
So just going right from the grip, let's actually go with the full size. The compact is the same size as a PPQ. It also takes the same magazines. If you're not familiar with Walther, Walther is well known for awesome triggers.
Yep.
And in my opinion, and I am paid by Walther for advertising on my site, but they have probably the best striker-fired trigger available out of the box. I'm not paid to say that. I'm just paid for a banner on my website and for the podcast. So they have this brand new model, which is the full size, which is an 18 round capacity. The PPQ is only a 15. So this full size, empty. Yeah. Okay, good. So ambi controls, magazine release can be swapped, is my understanding. I'm a righty, so I don't care about that. The forward serrations are actually really cool. They're very unique, where they're rather large.
Yeah.
They're huge. They're blocky, and they're very effective. We were shooting in snow. We were shooting in rain. We weren't shooting in blood. But in all those environments, with or without gloves, it was very easy to get a good purchase on the slide. But being a red dotty guy, I'm naughty and I go by the red dot. All these PDPs are red dot ready.
Yep.
They're ready to throw on a red dot. So that right there is a huge
and lots of support for them already. As far as if you need
so many,
whatever.
yes.
CNH Precision is right there.
Holsters.
Yeah,
there's so many holsters that are available. One thing that's overlooked also is the dovetail. I'll put it right there. Is a Glock dovetail. So you get Glock sights that are already exist.
Readily available.
Yeah.
Relatively inexpensive.
Yeah. It is a very soft shooting gun compared to other striker fired guns. I have a lot of striker fired guns. Of them, I'm putting the PPQs and the PDPs near the top. Glocks I've used for years. Glocks are great pistols. I like these better. These are a little bit more refined. These are what a Glock is after you buy it and invest in getting a better red dot mounting, getting it stippled, getting all kinds of other things, and getting an Overwatch precision trigger. Out of the box for $650, you already have that gun. Performance wise, they run great, very accurate. I'm shooting them better than any of my Glocks, and I have a large amount of Glocks. I have, again, a lot of different options, but these PDPs they shoot really nice. If you are, if you're familiar with the Q4 steel frame, it's kind of like if a Q4 steel frame and the standard PPQ had a baby.
Right.
There's a standard PPQ. Unfortunately, though, Walther is one of those companies that does not get the attention that it deserves. It's a class act of a company. Products are awesome. There are only a couple pistols that they make that I'd like to see some improvements on. They're kind of disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
CCP.
Yep.
But other than that, the PPQ lines are awesome. The steel frame lines are awesome. And now the new PDPs, they're wonderful. They're awesome.
Yeah. I think the PPQs are great. Although I'm excited to see this new texture on the PDPs, because that was probably my one thing I didn't care as much about on the PPQs was I felt like the texture, for me at least, could be a little bit more aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And the PDP looks like it looks relatively fine, but I can tell that there's some bite there, isn't there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Compared to the PPQ is fairly, I could see it becoming a little, maybe not slippery, but it is a little more slick, and definitely there's texture to that has a little bite on the PDPs.
Yeah. One thing I'm really appreciative as well is, I'm just going to hold up a grip module here of a competing gun that this is a big pet peeve of mine, is the texture on this thing is actually pretty good, but that little line right there is like a 1/4 inch wide, and you'd be surprised how much grip pressure I put into that quarter panel of the grip.
Yeah.
And I saw the press release of the PDPs and all the images and everything, and I'm like, yes, because like, all right, we're actually getting full like grip or wrap grip texture, all the way around the back strap, all down the side panels, and we're not leaving any of these big, smooth, wide open areas.
Texture voids.
Awesome, because we talk so much about how important grip is to good shooting. Well, let's actually build and use guns that facilitate that by having actual grip texture where you really want it and where you're applying a lot of grip pressure. It makes a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you think about it, when we're holding a gun, those corners are going to have a lot of pressure applied to them. Why would you not want that textured?
Mm-hmm.
Silliness.
Yep. Conversely, I send stuff off to have that fixed, but that costs money.
Gray guns.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's great to see how the PDP has been designed and developed. And I see some of that, and I go, that's thoughtful design and engineering, because you definitely see a lot of new gun products come to the market, and there's just these little things. It's like, if a shooter was actually working on that, then I don't think it would be released the way it is.
Yeah.
But the cool thing, what Walter's doing with its defense division and all you guys that Walter's working with, bringing everybody out to Chicago, like you said, last fall, having all of the great minds, checking things out, evaluating, providing, and providing feedback. I'm sure. So, do you feel like that's kind of, has that been Walter's approach, is looking for feedback from some of the guys that, like the defense division and others?
Looking for feedback, determining who the leaders are in these fields, mm-hmm. and grabbing them and getting their input. Okay, so we have Scott Jedlinski on board on defense division. I don't think we can find many other people that are as well versed in red dot performance. We have Bill Blowers, who is old. We have I love Bill. Bill is a fantastic shooter, an awesome instructor. Really Nick Young, super fast shooter. Tatiana Whitlock, her gun yoga class I did not want to go to, and I'm so glad I did. I don't want to bend and do stuff like that. Yeah. Just a great time. Jim Dexter, who's featured in their video. He's the ginger cop. Mm-hmm. He did a medical portion. That was also another really cool thing that I found with Defense Division is it's not just shooting, it's entire lifestyle, and that includes medical. Though I do want to go back to when they sent us out to Chicago, the first time we got to, and it was way out from Chicago, but we flew in. I'm from a suburb of Chicago, by the way. First time we handled these weapons was that during that event. The first time we shot it was that event. And the coolest thing I found was we walked away going, those guns were really nice. And there wasn't anything that I'd go, you know what? It would be great if you just did this. Kind of like that corner without the stip. Excuse me, without that stippling. There was nothing that we found that was like, it's a great pistol, but no, everything about it worked well. It performed well. They ran great. There wasn't anything like, oh man, Glock knuckle. Oh, this sucks. No, it's a very well thought out pistol.
Yeah. Awesome. So just announced yesterday, lots of more great content coming from Walter and Defense Division team. Like you said, about $650 retail for the.
And how often are we playing full retail? Seriously.
Right. And is that for the full size version or the more compact, or both?
It might be both. I don't know.
Cool.
That's a fine question.
Cool. I think that's a solid price point, especially considering what you get. I'm obviously I can't speak too much because I don't have hands-on yet, but just looking at it and looking at the numbers and knowing what I know, at least what's important to me in a gun, there's a lot of good stuff there.
Yep.
And to your point about trigger, the triggers on those Walters are amazing. Yep. If anybody gets a chance to try the trigger on Scott Jelinski's gun on his Walter, it is like, it's insane. Maybe it's had a little bit extra tuning, but it's a really great trigger. You'd have a hard time telling that it's not or that it is a striker fired pistol, So
yeah, really the PDPs have that same well-known awesome trigger.
Yeah. Great. Well, and I know you got to go get ready for your podcast or video or whatever it is you're doing with Walter later. So that's exciting, and we'll have to check into that as well and watch that. So it'll be fun. Matt, before we let you go, any last words you'd like to get in? Words of advice?
Yeah. Something
that you wish we touched on, we didn't? I'd love to hear it.
I honestly think we covered so much good information. My bit of advice, and I think I said it already, especially dealing with looking at training, assessing your options, interacting with people on social media. The key to success is being honest with yourself, being honest with others. Because nowadays, does it really matter status or anything like that? If we're truly looking to improve, we're going to throw all that crap away. Otherwise, if you're doing everything off of a facade, it's going to be inaccurate. If we zero a rifle to the leaning left because we're shooting poorly, and when we learn how to shoot well, that rifle shooting left, just be honest.
Yeah, great advice. Honesty is key, and I think some of the honesty that is, particularly as it relates to shooting and shooting performance, it is really hard to be honest with ourselves.
Yeah,
it really is. So even for myself, there's definitely times when you do something, you're like, you want to find an excuse when you make mistakes or when things don't go as well.
Absolutely.
as you
everyone
like.
Me, yes.
Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, like that I did that. That was my level of performance in that moment at this particular time, and I can't change that.
Yeah, we're just hindering ourselves. It's to our detriment to be anything other than honest.
Awesome. Great stuff, Matt. We appreciate you being on the Concealed Carry podcast today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Finally,
finally.
Our schedule's aligned.
So, folks, don't forget to go check out primaryandsecondary.com. You guys are making a lot of. You're working hard to actually sort of put a renewed emphasis into the forums on primaryandsecondary.com because, again, recognizing that Facebook and other social media type companies and Google, everybody's trying to make it a lot more difficult for gun related industries, communities, etc., to continue to exist.
It's true.
So check out the forum. Maybe consider participating there. Check out, find the link right there for the Primary and Secondary Training Summit 2021. You can see all the details there for the event this year. List of instructors, all that. It's all right there on the site. So, and I look forward to seeing you there again in September. Hopefully before then, but
Yeah.
if not, we will definitely see you September.
Yeah.
And it'll be a great time. So guys, with that, we're going to let you go. A reminder to train right, train often, and train safe so you can fight hard, fight fast, and fight true. Take care.